free Golden Eagles for War Thunder. Download the app in the description below.
I like jokes. I mean, they're great fun. They last throughout the entire weekend. You know, a lot of people get, some people get triggered, some people get extremely excited. I, for one, don't really care about events. I think that events are pretty boring, especially not when you're not able to grind with them. But I had to give it a try. I mean, it's a Leopard 2, it's a T-90, it's a goddamn helicopter, it's Middle East, it's modern warfare. Hell, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, what the worst thing that can happen is that you realize that this game mode is not a joke. This game mode is a giant fuck you from Gaijin towards every other game developer that ever made modern vehicles try to work. Hell, this game mode is so well executed, I'd be willing to pay money for it. And speaking about it, Gaijin has their policy on modern tanks, or modern planes, or the cutoff date. Basically, vehicles past a particular date will never be introduced into the game. I'd be surprised if this game mode never sees the light of the day in an actual shapeform. Now, whether Gaijin goes around making this into an actual game mode in the game, whether it's something behind a paywall, whether it's a different game that you can download, I think fact at hand is that this is sellable material. I mean, what they've got right here is damn good. And considering that this is, coming out as for most people, an apparent joke, as an April Fool's event, as a little shits and giggles act, this is a wet dream for anyone who has, anything for modern tanks. Now, I can't judge how heavy tanks perform or how realistic this is compared to, real life, performance of vehicles, but from someone who likes aggressive playstyle, has a thing or two for fast maneuvering, well-armored vehicles with good shell ammunition, this is nothing short of perfection. And yeah, it does come with a couple of micro hiccups. I mean, for starters, the game mode is extremely fresh. It's available for everyone, whether you have tier 5 tanks or tier 1 tanks, whether you've played the game ever. So when it comes to collecting feedback, if Gaijin is to do so, they have to be a little bit wary of whom they're collecting the feedback from. Obviously, people who play the game more actively at top tier might be able to provide slightly different information. What I can say is this: more tanks, more helicopters, more SPAA. That's all you need. I mean, the game mode is packed with action. It's from the start of the get-go. Now, being that I'm an aggressive player, obviously I can just, go directly to the combat and not really worry about the consequences. The idea here was also to manufacture a bunch of points to go out into a helicopter, which I think costs about 900 spawn points, to see how that aspect was like, because this is kind of the second unique thing about the game mode. Now, the helicopters themselves are a little bit finicky. For me, at least, I'm not too familiar how to fly them. Obviously, first time ever flying a helicopter outside something like GTA. The elevator controls you have on an aircraft now control the lift of the helicopter. So it's inverted. So for me, shift and control would usually lift the plane up. Control now lowers the helicopter down. It descends it. And shift does the exact opposite. Rudders still do the obvious rudder work, and then you have the option of, you get 8 rockets, or 7 rockets that you can fire. These are ATGM-like rockets that you can control through this extremely... It's just dope, but there's no other way to put it. No other word can quite describe as cool as this looks, but you can just spam these rockets out and rain havoc among the enemy team. What you will find to be a slightly more problematic thing is that there is obviously going to be a Shilka or a Gepard waiting for you. And this is what I love about this game mode. There's this rock, paper, scissors in effect. And even though we only have 3 vehicles on each side, it works out to be perfect. And one of the things I found extremely enjoyable about the helicopters, although, maybe this may be changed in the future, maybe this is something about, just knowing how ATGMs work, having played a lot of them, what you can do is you can cross-map snipe other helicopters with the ATGM missile extremely reliably and extremely precisely. Also, to control the helicopter, there's a couple of additional ways to do it, which is obviously to use your mouse. And the mouse, I think, pretty much controls the pitch of the aircraft. So I will need a couple of more matches to really get used to it, to get the hang of it. It's a completely different flight model approach aspect, but it is one that I think adds a completely different aspect to the game in itself. Now, would I love to see aircraft in the same game mode as well? Perhaps, but I think there's a lot more that they can build up upon. What this game mode is just as it's stated on the box. It's an open test. And they wouldn't have called it an open test for no reason, unless that in itself is an ironic joke. And I think what Gaijin really went out for do here was just a really, really smart business move, and kudos, really. It's a dope game mode, there's no other way to put it. And I, for one, hate speculating. I hate talking about what could happen in the future because, as it is known, future is something we can't predict. It's impossible. You can look at what statistically looking would be the most common outcome. What Gaijin decides to do, what kind of, game they decide to develop in the end, nobody knows. But when it comes to this, I mean, having played just a handful of matches comes out as such an incredible heap of work. Because it isn't a game mode quickly slapped together for the sake of, testing ship's buoyancy as it was last year. It's not a game mode where it's about having a good laugh looking at the giant snail walk around the map and trying to kill it. I think it really is best described as a huge fuck you for every other company that ever made, or tried to make modern-looking games. It just takes everything that War Thunder is already good at, the visual aspects, the kind of exciting gameplay, the pace of it, and it just kind of transfers it into the future, adds advanced mechanisms and advanced gameplay physics, and just makes it work. And it's as basic as that. It's not complicated. I love that they took this very simplistic approach to what otherwise is a very complicated game mode. And I know for a lot of you who are probably, very accurate realism fans, you might, point out plenty more flaws. And I'm sure that people will point out flaws about, maybe certain armor not working exactly the way it's supposed to, maybe certain physics being out of shape. But for me, looking at it from just simply a gameplay perspective and having fun at the game that I otherwise grind 24/7 for, this was a great breather from what the standard game mode is. And so whether this becomes nothing or whether it gets developed further into an individual game, whether it becomes a DLC, whether it's behind a paywall, whether it's free to access for everybody, I wouldn't really care. It's just I would love to see more of this because it's not good. It's excellent. And as you watch me pretty much massacre the remainder of the enemy team, this is exactly why I love these types of tanks for. It's fast-paced, you got the ammunition to be able to penetrate through everything, and for those of you wondering, I'm using the APDS-FS shell, which is obviously the armor-piercing, discarding, Sabo, fin-stabilized shell. It is the same shell used in the game by the T-62, the Russian Tier 5, and it's a blast. I mean, plainly put, fast-paced combat with a great penetrating shell. All you're really doing is now learning where the weak spots are, where the gunner locations are, where you can hit the ammo rack to reliably explode. And truly the only real recommendation that I can give to Gaijin is more tanks, more SPAA, more helicopters, more of this. I'm not saying fully develop this and ignore the game as it is, but if you can get an individual development team working on this and have it released as a maybe a single standing project after a year, yeah, I'm gonna be putting my work into that as well. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you had a blast. Hope you do enjoy playing the event. If you do have access to War Thunder, do give it a try. It is fantastic. If you point out some of the flaws, please do keep in mind this is very early on the stage of the actual gameplay. Now, I'm sure everybody else is going to give you their own opinions and insights, but I think I speak for the majority of people who are active and love top-tier vehicles, that this is a fantastic feat of development, and again, I can't go around thanking Gaijin enough, or at least praising them to a certain extent, for simply taking the guts to create what is very, very far away from a joke, and in reality is a very, very smart business move, and I salute that. And since Gaijin came out with this really ingenious joke that was anything but a joke, I thought since tomorrow is April Fool's and I am streaming, We're not going to be fooling around. We're not going to be playing any other game or kind of shenanigans. We're going to be going fully back into the grind. I'm currently, I think, 11 vehicles away from everything spaded, and I've got a couple of them to grind through tomorrow. I think we might get the SPAs done, which means that hopefully somewhat towards the remainder of the next week will be finished. And if you're wondering, I'll be streaming tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central European Time, and I'll put a link down in the description below for my Twitch page. So, yeah, if you want to watch, you'll know where to find me. Take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.